Good afternoon. Thank you for being here on our WoW Wednesday. And I am going to start the call by letting you know that Dr. Sheila had something come up and she could not be here this evening. So she sends her apologies, but I think we'll have a great call. She's looking forward to watching the replay. So I'm going to get started with the disclaimer and welcoming each and every one of you. But the AO scan technology is not a medical device. These statements that we share here have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. If you are sick, please consult with your healthcare provider. So with that being said, we're gonna talk about all things Solex. It can be on the AO scanner, it can be on the 660 band, it can be on any of our supplements, the inner Illuminator, our wearables. We have a lot of things available in our back office that we can share with the world that all has something to do with energy and helping people get their body back to homeostasis. So that is the whole purpose of this call, is to share the testimonials that we all have beautifully seen as we're using this technology, be it any of these devices that we have. I'm gonna just go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that I can focus on everybody here in the chat. But if anybody has a testimonial and they'd like to come on and share it, please just unmute yourself and share with us.
You can see that flipping every 2 minutes really gives it that beautiful.
Huh?
Hi guys, it's Tamara.
Hi, Tamara.
I just have to share my doggy story. This week I worked on a friend's dog. Well, it was actually over the weekend. So for a couple days, the dog had been throwing up. She thinks they were out they're in northern Wisconsin, so they were out fishing, and she thinks the dog was licking the bottom of the boat with dead fish and all kinds of icky whatever. So I did several scans, 2 a day, the vital scans. I created a playlist and did that first night. I did it for, went to bed probably about 10, and the next morning by 7 stopped it. Improved, and then had another downturn. So I was like excited, and then I was like, oh, what am I doing wrong? And then funny enough, she said, because the dog had also been having bathroom issues, she's like, she's still cowering. She goes, what I found out is she was embarrassed because she had poop on the back of her butt. So her tail was tucked. She said, so I gave her a bath and she sprung up again. And I just texted her to say, how is Zoe doing now? And she said, she's doing great. She had debated that second day, do I take her to the vet? I feel like things are improving, and she's all into alternative things. And she's like, I feel like I'm going to waste my money. I'm seeing all the blood work that that's showing up, small intestine absorption kept coming up. She did some other things too. And I think giving her the bath, and she just was like, she said she did her zoomies and she was good to go. So that was fun.
Nice. Yeah, animals are very, very receptive. So there's no placebo effect with our animals.
Nope.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else have anything that they'd like to share? And remember, it can be the smallest thing, because you don't know who's on this call that needs to hear something simple as, I scanned myself. I had a headache when I started. When I stopped, it was all gone. It could be as simple as that. But let somebody know what's going on.
I'll share another one personally.
Okay.
I just had without saying too much, I had some emotional stuff come up with some people, and it's always interesting when you start the journey of healing your body, how it brings you back to, oh, this feels exactly like this. So, I got up yesterday morning, and my my frequency was 4,600 and something. And I was like, okay. And I was in a funk Monday night, and I ran playlists, and I got up on Tuesday morning, and I'm like, I don't know if it did anything, but I don't know. I just kept at it. And today was like a much better day, where I feel like I would have held on to. I feel like I got the betrayal was the thing that kept coming up. And I would have probably held on to it forever. And I feel like I moved through that quickly, easier. You know, you always think that you hope that, oh, I did this and it's gone. Well, we all know better, right? It's life. We still have to process it. So I will say that it definitely helped me. I'm still dealing with it, but I'm not as much of a wreck as I was Monday nights, and it's Wednesday night. So I was like, okay. So, and all I did was, you know, emotional playlist, and I just kept doing my tones.
Perfect. Perfect. That, you know, that is one of the biggest things that I noticed when I started with the scanner. And when I started, guys, I was in a really dark place, and I thought, you know, I have nothing to lose. It's just a bunch of buttons to push, and put my glasses on and go sit outside and listen to my tones. And as silly as I felt sometimes, I started to feel the shift. And you know, that's an incredible feeling when you don't even see the light at the end of the tunnel, but then when you start to, you're like, oh, that's what everybody's talking about. It's like this cloud lifts, and you're able to at least function a little bit. So I say be persistent with things and work with it, and you'll be amazed at what it does for you. Um, anybody else want to share? I can share about, I mean, Possum, I got to tell y'all, Possum is doing amazing. I'm still scanning and optimizing her twice a day, but now I'm working on the partner's kitty cat, and I'll tell you a little bit about her. When I did a call with uh, Araya, the one that has the cat, she initially told me that it was probably skin allergies. And I thought, okay, so I made a playlist, I scanned and optimized, but what I was seeing in her scan reports was something a little different than what I would picture as skin allergies. And I'm no vet, I'm not even claiming to be a veterinarian, but you know what kind of markers to look for if there's inflammation in the body or whatever. And I thought, you know, there's something a little bit more. So then I reached out to her partner, Kelly, and I asked him, I said, you know, can you tell me, because Araya wasn't available. And I said, can you tell me a little bit more about Athena, the cat, and, you know, tell me what she's actually going through. And he sent me a video of her. And what I noticed was this cat. I mean, before this, I had seen pictures, and it almost looked like the cat had scratched areas around her eyes. But then when Kelly sent me the video, I thought, no, that's not from scratching, that's something else. So then I did a little digging, and I found out that, you know, and I asked him, I said, is her tears clear, or are they, you know, is something up with them? And he goes, no, it's actually like brown liquid coming out of her eyes. And I did a little digging and research and found out that with cats, they'll sometimes have lacrimal duct clogging, which will create the tears to kind of have like a brownish tinge to it, and it's acidic. So what it does is it actually, you know, starts draining down their face, and it does irritate them, and they may scratch at it a little bit, and the skin looks like it's almost burned. So I made a playlist for lacrimal duct clogging and started running that on her. And you know, I scan and optimize her twice a day, but the Cephi I started running about 6 to 8 hours a day. So I reached out to her this morning, and I said, hey, Araya, I just want to check in on Athena. How's she doing? And she goes, oh my gosh. She goes, 2 days ago, we thought we were going to have to take her to the vet. But as of this morning, she is actually in much better spirits. Her eyes look like they're drying up. And I went, thank goodness. So from skin allergies to actually honing in and figuring out what was actually creating this in her eyes, I was able to make a playlist based on that. I read about the symptoms, what causes it, and it is an allergic reaction typically from something that they're eating. And I told Araya, you might want to look into doing a little bit different food with her or whatever. But it's just fascinating to see these animals respond like they do. So that's one I'm working on, and then I'm working on two little dachshunds too. One was aggressive, the other one was being aggressive to the older one, and the husband's talking about getting rid of both of them. So I said, oh no, let's work on them. So I've been working on those two, and I checked in with her today, and all I'm doing for them is actually sending the tones. And the owner said they're actually doing a lot better. They listen to their tones every day, and she goes, there's no more aggression, only when there's food around. And she said that's a big game changer for them. So those are my animal testimonials. Anybody have a testimonial they'd like to share?
Well, before we move on, can I just talk to you about what you just said?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. I guess I got two questions. Since we have a little longer today, maybe you can teach
Sure.
us. I think you answered the second one, so let me start with that. I was going to ask you, when you said you're working on the two dogs, I was going to ask you what you were doing, but it sounds like you're saying you are just scanning them and doing the vitals, doing the optimization, and then sending the tones. That's the extent that you're doing there.
With the exception of Possum and the cat, I've actually been running Cephis on them as well.
Okay.
The two dachshunds, I did Cephis for the first couple of days because she did pay me for that. But past that, she just wants tones for the rest of the month.
Okay.
So,
and going back to the original, when you were talking about the animal that you were scanning and optimizing, and you were saying that you were looking at the blood and you knew what or you were looking at the reports and you kind of know what to look for. I don't know what to look for. So I've been scanning my dogs.
mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know what I'm looking for. So I don't know what markers might show me that I need to be concerned. I have no idea.
I may have to just do a Zoom call on that alone because I can kind of show you what I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. And I may be totally off, but so far my historically, what I've been doing has really been proving that, what I am looking at is what I'm seeing. So, when you're looking at your reports, just remember if there's something on there that you're seeing a 99 or a 11 and you don't know what it is, make sure you highlight that word and it'll bring up the explanation of what it is. And then I usually will Google to figure out a little bit deeper. What is that? What causes that? What creates the issue for them maybe to have a 99 in that area? And then I go a little deeper and kind of do my own research, and that helps me to know what I'm dealing with. So that's kind of what I do. And now it takes me a long time. Like I'm working with a little kid right now, and I'm about to reach out to Becky because I have a feeling this little boy's got mold and Lyme, because he is really sick and he's under the age of, I think he's under 4. And they just can't figure out what's going on with him. But from what I'm seeing in the scan and the reports and the emotions, or not the emotions, but the molds and the toxicities and the pesticides and the herbicides and things like that, it's leading me to believe that there is something big going on with this little kid. So, excuse me, sorry. So with the animals as well, I mean, I kind of compare their reports with our human reports and kind of look at those markers is kind of what I do.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know that doesn't help a lot. I'll have to probably just do a Zoom call and show you what I'm pointing out, what I'm looking at.
For the record, I think Zoom calls where we look at specific reports and then say, like, I would look at this and I would look at that. For people like me, that's overwhelmingly helpful because it's a real life scenario versus theory.
Yeah.
You're really looking at something. And just really one last question. When you're doing this with dogs or humans, it really doesn't matter which answer you give. Do you wait until you see the same thing a couple of times before you start doing this Google search?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I will typically run a series of a couple of scans, put them in a spreadsheet side by side. And then what I do is I make notes. I can share with you what I'm doing on one of them real quick. And this might help. I'll kind of go above here. This is that little kid that I was telling you about. But typically I go past the food sensitivities and I start looking at the actual scan results. And this was 3 days scan results on fasting. So one of the things, and I thought I already marked this. I wonder why it didn't stay marked. I had this all marked, guys. I had some things highlighted as to what I wanted to talk to, so I'm going to have to go back and redo that. But what I typically do, Dr. Darrell, is I go through here and I really go through it with a fine tooth comb. And I know that this was one of the things that I saw that was, kind of out of range and stayed out of range. You get the idea with what I'm kind of pointing out, that there are some things like, collagen index with the vessels was something that showed up as low right here. So I'll highlight those things that are consistently showing bad numbers. And then I go back and I'll make notes in my spreadsheet. And evidently this one has, I don't know why it didn't save it. Maybe I'll find it later. I don't know. But I will typically go through and highlight these different areas, and then I start piecing things together. Everybody's got their own way of doing things, but this is how I do it. I've been doing it from the very beginning this way. And then what I also do is I take the body system scan and their inner voice report, and I look at the information in both of those after I look at their spreadsheets, because I don't want it skewing what I'm looking for. I want a kind of a clean snapshot of the oh, that's not the right spreadsheet. That's why. It's this one. Okay, so yeah. So this is the one that I actually marked. So I went through here and I just highlighted the areas that just stuck out to me as, okay, there's something going on here. And with this little child, these are some of the things that I was noticing. And then I'm going to go back through with more of a fine tooth comb and look at each of these items. Some of them I already have in my head, but I truly believe this kid's probably got MTHFR and all of his B vitamins are out of whack. pH balance was off. This little kid, just to give you an idea, has been vomiting, diarrhea, fever, lethargic. He's been in and out of the hospital several times. All the blood work is coming back normal. And I'm looking at this going, there's something definitely going on. And then whenever I went through the homeoenergetics and pulled each one of those, what kept consistently coming up were the Lyme cofactors, a lot of different pesticides. So my first question to this mom is going to be, where do y'all live? What are you surrounded by crops and crop dusting? Something going on, in that area, because what I'm consistently seeing show up is kind of pinpointing that is something that's going on. He's definitely got some food allergies going on, so I'm going to go back to that food list and look at that with a fine tooth comb. And then the detoxification, the liver fat, these are all little areas that are just, all of it is just, to me, is painting a picture that this little child is pretty sick. But here's all the viruses or the toxicities that were showing up. And I can tell you that also of course the candida, and then here's some of the
Wait,
other
Tammy,
things.
We can't see.
yeah, I think you're on the spreadsheet that's showing is not the one you're working in right now.
Okay, let me stop
I'm
share.
sorry about that.
No. I do this quite often, so I think it's because here we go. That's why. Okay, now can y'all see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so basically what I do, like I said before, is I go through there and I just make highlights And then I go back in there and I start making some notes in that further column over there. And then my call is with this mom tomorrow to kind of go over this, kind of get a better picture of what's going on. She kind of she's somebody that's been wanting to join Solex for a while, but she just hasn't pulled the trigger. And when she reached out to me about her little boy being sick, I told her, well, this would be the price that I would do this for. I'll do an analyzation, see what I can figure out. And then she's going to send me his blood work and also he's having some other tests done too. She's going to send those to me so that I can use it to compare against his scan, which is going to be extremely helpful. But that's kind of what I do is I just go through and I pick out the things that are consistently showing up as, double ones, double reds, or, the 1, 2, 3, or the, 7, 8, 9s. I go and I pick those out. But if they finally start to level out, I don't mess with those. So does that help a little bit?
Tammy,
And I really think this needs to be a class all of its own.
I completely agree. And if you do that, I'm there for it.
Okay.
You can even charge for something like this is how I learn. Just literally looking at real life examples. Thank you.
Yeah. And I was going to do that this Saturday, but because of everybody being gone and I'm going to be gone and I've got so much to get ready for leadership retreat, that what I think I'm going to do on Saturday is teach you guys how to use the back office so that you can keep track of your teams. I sent out a mass email just a couple of days ago, got one response, and I have 1,688 people on my team. So people are not looking in their back office. So we need to do some training on the back office so you guys can have some empowerment to be able to connect with your team members through the back office. We have a beautiful calendar back there and everything. But anyway, we got a little off base. Let's circle back around and go back to our testimonials. And just anybody that'd like to share, please share. Just unmute and share.
Tammy, can you hear me by chance?
I can, very lightly.
Well, I turned the volume down so the fan wouldn't make so much noise. Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Would you explain what the difference has made with you on the glasses and the wearing the colored glasses? I'm still having trouble wrapping my arms around the need for those colored glasses.
Okay. What I can tell you, Vicki, is the days that I don't use the colored glasses, I can tell a definite not as much progress as it when I do wear the colored glasses. I can't explain why, other than that it is color therapy and it does do something with the binaural beats, the music that's playing with the color that's being deflected. It does something for the emotional balance, also the trauma release, because there has been times that I've worn a particular color and before I know it, I've got tears running down my face. And I can't explain it other than to know that I know that there is something to that. And sometimes I'm lazy and I don't wear the glasses. But I've been getting back into the habit of doing that and wearing them.
Second question, Tammy, is what do we do when our fur babies run away from the sounds, from the tones? Is it that they don't like it or it bothers them? Or am I using the wrong tone? When I scan my baby and I play the tones for him, sometimes he sits and sometimes he takes off running.
The ones that they typically take off running is probably triggering something with trauma. So I would probably just turn it down and try to edge, kind of get close to them, but just try to work it, or either turn it way up where it just permeates in the house and they can hear it softly. I mean, I wouldn't blast it by any means, but I would at least try to work with them. Like, for instance, I had a little girl that she would scream bloody murder. She was only 2.5 years old when I was working on her. She had cerebral palsy. She was running up underneath furniture and staying hidden. She had a lot of trauma. And when I started working with her, her mom said she just screams at me to turn the music off. And that was before we had the new inner voice. she would scream and scream, and cry like, something was hurting her. And I told the mom, I said, okay, just turn it way down and just put it on a table somewhere. She's still going to receive the benefit from it. Even if she can't audibly hear, it's still hitting her. And she did. And it was about, I want to say, after the third day of doing this, she became very comfortable. By week 1, the mom had sent me a video of the little girl singing happy birthday to me. And I'm like, and she goes, Tammy, she would have never done anything like this. She hides under furniture all the time. And I went, wow. So um just work with the animals. If something bothers them, what I would tell you is just to kind of ease in with them, but keep doing it.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
What I did with Zoe is I put in the playlist, I put those tones that would come up.
There you go.
Is that going to be as aggressive for them or less
That
aggressive?
would be, yeah, that would be a great thing to do, actually.
Okay.
Do you know what that means, Vicky, by putting the tones in a playlist?
No, I haven't done that one yet.
Okay. Well, that is when you go to, let me see if I can share my screen and show you. And I did a training on this a couple weeks back. Let me get the app pulled up here and I'll show y'all. Can you see that I'm typing in the app in the browser and everything?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was sharing this right screen. Y'all feel free to, make a comment or while I'm pulling this up. All right. So with your inner voice, and this is my inner voice this morning, I always go to my inner voice report and take a look at it. But when you're scrolling down here and well, you can even look at it in here too. So these are your notes that were out of range: G, A, E, and C. These are the notes that will balance you. So C sharp, D sharp, A sharp, and F sharp were for me today. Now, when you go to make a playlist, you can make a playlist with everything that the scanner recommends for you in a day. And one of the ways you can do this is by scanning in these different modules what you may need. But what I want to share with you is that, let's say you want to make a custom playlist and you want to add that A, C, F, and C sharp, whatever those were. You'll jump down here to inner voice and you'll pick those zones. So it had C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, and I think G sharp. It might have had A. Anyway, you can add all of those balancing tones to your Cephi playlist. And then you can add whatever other things that you want to add to your playlist to be supportive for whatever you've got going on. So that's how you would do that. And then you would just broadcast those. You could put your name on there for today's date or whatever you want to do. But that is how you would do that. Does that help?
Very much so. But when you broadcast it, how long do you broadcast it for?
I do continuous. So if I save, well, I'll just put IV. So that would be my playlist for today. We'll just put it like that. And then I just do the continuous broadcast just like this. I turn the volume down. You don't have to listen to those, but if you want to, you can. So and if you know what colors these are affect, if you've got a list, which I keep a little list next to me that has the different colors, you could wear those colors that correspond with these different zones.
And you wear that color glass during the time that specific zone is playing, right?
Yes, you can. Yes. Or if you just know that, in your inner voice that this particular one is where the trauma is, where most of it's the one that is underexpressed, so it's green. So what I did this morning was just wore my green glasses while I listened to everything in here. So that is something I do. Now, whenever we had the classic tones, I would actually slip each color on. I would just change them out as each tone played. But now that we have the new pulse tones, I will typically just wear the last color, unless I'm just feeling like I need it all, and then I may switch them out and I may do it for 10 minutes. It just depends on my mood for the day, but that's typically how I do it.
Do you
Does that help?
typically play? Yes. Do you typically play the classic piano bliss on your tones?
No, I always do auto mix and let it tell me which one my body's wanting for the day, and then that's what I listen to.
Where's the auto mix at?
Right here, that little button right here.
Oh,
You see it?
yes.
Now you can play around with this because there are some people they like certain tones in this, and that's what they resonate with, and they do it. I just choose to do the auto mix so that I get something different almost every day.
And do you always have the square wave, or does the auto mix to
It
determine what the wave
yeah,
is?
it just changes it. Yeah.
Well, auto mix would probably cover all bases then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Safe way out.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Can you see my video?
I just see you. I don't see a video.
You don't see me waving my hand?
Yeah, I see you.
Oh, okay,
When you
good.
said, "Do you see my video?" I'm like, I don't see a video.
No. Well, I'm just my picture, my whatever.
Yes, I see your beautiful face.
Okay. Hey, I'm just wondering, when I scan, there's actually 5 tones that show up, but there's only 4 colors. Do we listen to the first one without any glasses on, and then the four ones after that?
Okay, explain to me. What are you trying to tell me?
Whenever I scan and then I send it to my email,
Uh-huh.
on the audios, there's always 5 boxes, not 4.
There is?
Yeah, but
Can I
the
explain
first
what you're
box,
talking about?
Yeah, please.
When are you talking about the actual audio files? You get 5 MP3s.
yeah.
So you get the 4 individual notes individual, and then you get one of them that is a combination of
yeah.
all. And
It's
that's
your
Oh,
balancing
okay.
tones. Yeah.
So what do you just like listen to do you listen to the one that all the combinations of all of them if you would just want to hurry and get through it real fast or something?
Well, that what he's probably showing. See, you've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this would be your 5th one. It's on the classic stuff. So this just kind of loops them all in one continuous, where these you play them one by one. Now, if you're on the pulse tones, I don't know what it's sending. Is it still sending 5 in the
it
audio?
is. Yes, it sends 5, like the MP3s. It
Uh-huh.
sends it sends them the same way. You get the individual ones,
Okay.
and then you get the one that's pulsed.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what that is. I was
Yeah.
just wondering.
That's
Like,
it. I'm reading the chat real quick. Can you imprint them? Can you imprint what? You mean those 5 tones?
Yeah, can you imprint those tones that you put on your playlist?
Yeah, you certainly can.
Print them in water or on
You certainly can. And that actually would help your body recognize that a little better. So I encourage anybody that if you've got the time, imprint water, imprint your food, imprint, jewelry.
I just didn't know if you could imprint tones into your water.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. That's
Because
interesting.
it's all frequency.
Okay, cool.
Any other testimonials or anything like that we can share, or any questions? I mean, might as well just answer any questions too.
That's all under the vitals that you just did? That's all right there on the vitals?
No, that was under inner voice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Has anybody been paying attention to their average frequency and their pulse stuff?
Don't understand it.
I just have a theory about it because the people that I work with, I will notice that, people that are chronically having some like major stress issues or major health issues, seems like their average frequencies are way up there. And the ones that, are pretty calm, they've been on a health journey for a while, it seems like their frequencies are all under, 600 is what I'm noticing.
And what about pulse, Tammy?
Pulse, I have noticed that when I'm more stressed in a day, my pulse is higher. When I'm more zen or when I'm more grounded, my pulse is lower.
And who should we rely on? Either Solex or my machine that takes my pulse, and my pulse is typically 65 to 70, but the pulse on the Solex is showing up like 95 to 100.
No, this
Why is
this that's not like a heart pulse. I think this is something else to do with, and I'm sure that Lauren will come out and explain it more as the data comes out, but this is something, it is not to do that I know of with the heart.
Oh, thank God, because I thought I was having
Yeah.
heart issues.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with the heart pulse. I could be wrong, but let's wait till we find more information on that.
Tammy, I called Solex several times about what is the gauge on the average frequency and the pulse. So the pulse, neither one of them they don't have a chart.
Nope.
They can't really get tell you whatever your frequency is, if that's good or bad. The pulse, they don't have any data on that. They haven't gotten to that point,
That's
so
true.
that's something that I don't think you can really gauge, because if like David Richard Hawkins, he has a frequent, like, he did kinesiology, and so he's got a chart from 0 to 1,000.
Yes.
And so most average people are around 200. If you're in a higher frequency, of course, you could be anywhere from 200 to 700 or whatever. There's a way to do inner voice. There's a report on inner voice that you can do if you have the database open, and it'll give you that frequency. But this right here, from talking to Solex X amount of times, that they cannot give you any information. They can't there's no validity on the meaning of either box.
And that is true.
Frequency.
I mean, Lauren even stated that at Day of Discovery when they released this, because we all asked, what does that mean? And he goes, we don't know what it means yet. And I think that they're collecting data on it, but I'm letting you know from my experience of collecting data. Just for instance, I had a gal that I did inner voice on, and one day we did her inner voice, and her frequency, and I think I even put it in the group. Her frequencies were like 6,517 some odd and some change. And then her pulse was like 100 and I want to say it was 120 or somewhere in there. So I messaged her and I asked her, I said, what's going on? What can you tell me what's going on? And this was happened to be on a Monday. And she said, oh my God, we had the worst weekend. We've got to figure out if we've got to move across country to help my parents. I'm in school. My kids are in school. My oldest is having this type of issue in school. My husband's having troubles at work. She had high stress, had a huge amount of stress going on. And I said, this got to be why her frequencies were 65-48, And then as I worked with her, they never really came down under 1,000. And by the time we got done with the month, she goes, Tammy, it's very clear to me. And even her inner voice reports, all of them said, manage stress, get, do massage. I mean, it was all about stress. And all I thought was, man, she's got to be probably in adrenal fatigue, number one. And it was just kind of a telltale sign that, hey, there's something definitely going on with her. And it just made total sense to me because every one of her reports were over 1,000 almost every time. And the times that it was like 3 and 4,000, she would even recognize. She goes, man, I had a really bad night the night before. I had a really bad morning this morning with the kids, and her frequencies would be 3 and 4,000. So she was just a great test person for me to just kind of paying attention, because she would give me feedback. And then another lady I worked with, she had went through pretty severe or pretty big surgery, and or major surgery, and she was in the healing phases, but the days that she was struggling, her frequencies would be way high. So that was just some of the notations that I'm making on my end, and several of us on my team are doing the same thing. I even reached out about Becky about it, and she goes, I think it's autonomic nervous system, and the nervous system is dysregulated with these people. And I said, oh, that makes sense too. So
So my one of my boys just got their wisdom teeth out today. Is there anything that I would do for like swelling and bleeding and stuff like that?
you have the Cephi dots.
Yes, I do.
I would imprint Cephi dots with a wisdom tooth playlist that you've got swelling in there. You've got, do something for blood clots, do something for pain, do all of that. And do the homeopathic pellets.
Okay.
I would definitely do that. Any other testimonials or things anybody wants to share?
Tammy, thank you for making this an hour. This has been so very productive.
Yeah, we'll continue to have an hour and hopefully have more testimonials as time goes by, but I just wanted to open it up a little bit longer because I just felt like we were trying to cram.
So I have a question about H. flora. If you're running that on somebody, could it and running it really, hot and heavy, basically, could that actually make that go away? I mean, could that,
Hope so.
yeah.
I mean, our
Because,
technology has Rife frequency. I mean, it has the Rife technology in it. It has a lot of different other technologies in it. And we know that Royal Rife had, a way to blast cells.
Yeah.
So why not?
because I had a client who had tested, they did a blood test on him, and he did have it. So then we worked like day and night, with a playlist to tackle that. So he just went back to the doctor like 2 weeks ago. He goes weekly, but anyway, it might have been 3 weeks at the most. But then they tested him again and they said he did not have it, And so then they said, well, he didn't have it. Well, he did have it last blood test, but basically they kind of went back and forth about it because they said, well, you could test positive for it at any time, and that he didn't have it. But, the first time they said he did have it. And then they came back. I know it's crazy. Well, you know how doctors are. So anyway, so then really hot and heavy on the Cephi playlist and the homeopathics, and did it that way. And so when the last time they tested him, he did not have it, and he's doing better. He has a lot of health issues, but anyway, so that was I thought
That's awesome.
that was tremendous. And I thought there's no way that's just coincidence. I think there's just no way.
I can tell you that like with Possum, that dog, he could literally feel tumors in her body and feel the swelling of the tumors. And I was running Cephis on tumors, and he says, I swear to you, Tammy, I almost can't feel them anymore. And I'm like, well, I've run the Cephis quite a long time on that little dog when I
Yeah.
was doing it. So I, believe it.
Another testimony is that we have a friend who had stage 4 cancer, stage 4 colon rectal cancer.
Oh,
And so we were, number one, I got healing water from the healing springs. And so took that and then imprinted, all the healing water that we took them, and also wrapped, the words on them, the whole 9 yards. We were not eating nothing, making sure that water was just as glorious as it could be.
sure.
And anyway, and some other things, colloidal silver and whatever. And then tons and tons of thousands of people praying for him, And so a couple of weeks ago, he came back at he's a minister on the weekends, and he had told the congregation, he had told us that he was cancer free without surgery. So he did radiation and chemo, but then they were saying there was nothing they could do, blah, blah, blah. Well, then when they finally did the PET scan, he came back with no tumors, no cancer. And so he had a reversal, I guess, for his bag, yesterday, so he still has some healing. But we were talking to him Sunday and we're like, you're already healed, And
Nice.
so that was amazing, stage 4. And he's a walking miracle,
That's awesome. That's awesome. My mom has a pretty big spot on her back, and tonight when she came over, we changed out her bandage, and I went, this has got an odor to it, Mom.
Yeah.
She goes, well, I've actually been doing some liver cleansing, just gentle liver cleansing. I'm like, well, I've tried to tell you to do liver cleansing for the last year and a half. So she's finally open to doing that, and I'm hoping that spot eventually goes away, because she's running Cephis too for that too as well. But I'm sure if you guys saw this spot, you'd be like, oh my gosh, because anybody that's seen it is like, she needs to go get that cut out. Well, she's not going to do that. She's chosen not to do that. So, and they're asking what again for stage 4 cancer. I have 3 persons called in last week. What did you?
That was colon rectal cancer, and it actually had spread to his hand. Now, this is a person who also used Roundup, quite frequently. He was a headmaster of a school, and in the afternoons after school, he would, do maintenance in the yard and stuff like that because they didn't have a big budget. So for years, he would spray the Roundup. This is a long time ago, like 10 years ago, before they knew, that it was that bad. Anyway, so he actually had it on his hand and some other places, and so to come back from all of that combined, and not to have any kind of surgery is amazing.
It is amazing.
Really amazing. But I didn't run the Cephi list on him or anything. I imprinted the water. So we took him tons of water. And in that, honestly, we didn't take it throughout the whole time. We took him supplements and all kinds of really good stuff. But of course, imprinting the water with tons of good stuff, starting out with structured water and the prayers. You have to have the faith and you believe.
Yep.
You have to believe that you're going to heal to be able to heal.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is so true. And those of us that have the AO scanner, and if you are a spiritual person, I'd really encourage you to pray before you start working on anybody. And, it's what I make a practice of doing every day too. And it does change things. So go ahead, Vicki.
Anne, are you going to be at the Day of Discovery?
I hope so. I hope so. That's in September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
September 15th and 16th.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
September 15th and 16th.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, definitely want to go. I've with HHE and Solex, I haven't been able to go to the retreat, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, you'd love it. All right. Any other testimonials or things anybody wants to share?
I'll have a quick testimonial.
Sure.
So I don't know this person that I'm speaking about, but someone that I do know contacted me, and this person was had just lost, well, not just lost, about 4 months ago, they lost their spouse. And this person was crying every single day. Well, she was crying every single day in the last 4 months. There has been no time that she did not cry. She didn't know anything about the AO scanner, but the person who contacted me had experienced the scanner. And so I did an easy scan, and I ran inner peace. That's all I did, was just ran inner peace for about 2 hours. I didn't really hear anything else back. I didn't know anything about it. I found out about a week later that the person who contacted me and that person ended up having lunch. And she just said, I've been waiting to talk to you. I need to know what happened, because I have not cried one day since that day. I'd been crying every day for 4 months. And whenever I would look at his picture, she said that when she would walk past, she would just immediately burst out. And she says, after that day, I can look at the picture and I'm resolved. There's like a smile that comes over me, and I'm actually able to have days. And she said, I had one day that I was crying and everybody was freaking out, wondering, why is mom crying? But she was watching a movie that she always watches. And whenever she gets to that part, she always cries. So it had nothing to do with the spouse. And that is just amazing to me.
It is amazing. You know, when Piggy Britches died, I was grief stricken terribly, and I was running a grief playlist on me, and it really, I could tell that it was helping. So that's amazing, Dr. Darrell. I just love that. All right, guys, we are a couple minutes away from the Solex call. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Again, Dr. Sheila sends her apologies. She will be back on next week with us. We will still have an hour call from here on out unless something comes up that we will notify you. But if you found this call on your own, or someone did not invite you, please feel free to reach out, or reach out to the person that invited you to this call. Because we've got an amazing technology and everybody needs to experience it. So reach out to them and let them know that you would like to get a scan if you're new here and you've never witnessed this before. So thank you all for being here and taking your time away from your busy schedules to do this. I thoroughly appreciate it so much for the support. So thanks, everybody. Have an incredible evening.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Absolutely.